Hey, thanks for spending your weekend with us here on Retire ATL, all powered by the Vincent Financial Group. 770-741-0120. Again, 770-741-0120 or retireatlradio.com. Aaron Vincent, Matt Decker. So as we get started with this segment, I'm going to note where our national debt is at right now. Just wrote it down, okay? So I just want y'all to take a guess. By the time we end this segment, how much do you think we've added to the national debt? So without giving you the trillions, I'll tell you right now, it's at $720,800,000.
Okay.
So
that's
I didn't add the
That's
millions.
just the millions.
I didn't add the billions or trillions.
That's just the millions. Okay. Makes sense.
720?
Yep.
I think we're going to be at 900 million.
Okay.
Ooh. So that's 180? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're going to be at 875.
$875. $1, Bob.
$1, Bob.
$1, Bob. All right. Here's the funny part. I'm going to totally forget about this.
No.
Right.
You got to make a
driving
guess.
home.
You got to make a
You gotta
guess.
guess. too, Mike.
You said 900. You said 875. I'm going to say about, I like the 8. I'm going to say about 850. I'm going to say 850.
850.
Brandon, real quick, you want to take a guess? Brandon, our producer in the other room.
950.
Holy smokes. He's in the Christmas spirit. He's spending some money.
He is. Oh, you should have run for office. Hey, speaking of the holidays, this time of the year, we are very emotional. We were talking about I love Christmas. And when I am a 10 out of 10. I'm Clark Griswold. I soak it up. This is my favorite time of the year. But we get very emotional with the holidays. We also get very emotional about our money. When somebody comes in, their portfolio's a mess. They feel like they've made mistakes. They're not happy. They're worried that they're going to not have enough money to retire properly. Too many 401ks, 15 different files. How do you take the emotions out of retirement strategies?
Well, the easy one, so I'll say it this way. I've not yet met someone who had even a general plan, like meaning that I'm making decisions on my investing based on a long-term plan. I won't even get into all that I think a financial plan should be and all the details of what our plans look like. Just generally speaking, I rarely, if ever, I can't recall meeting anyone who had some bigger picture way of making decisions who felt like they were just freaking out. My stuff's everywhere. I don't know how it works. I don't know what the long-term, kind of effect of this is, how are taxes going to affect me. We do meet a lot of people who think they have a plan and they really don't. So I don't want to just say that you're off the hook. But what I am saying is that simply by thinking long-term and by thinking about things in terms of I have a basis to make my financial decisions off of. I've got a reason why this much money is in my 401k. And I've got a reason why I'm contributing this much money to this account. And I've got an expectation to believe that this will look like this in 10 or 15 or 20 years. People, we can usually fine tune and improve even those plans. But I give you all that context to say that just simply starting off with a long-term picture and an asking of why. Why am I doing what I'm currently doing? Whether it's how much you're saving or where you're saving or how much risk you're taking or whatever it is. You start with any one of those. If a person can get to the point where they can just answer succinctly as to why they're doing what they're doing, that pretty much tells me that they've, to some level, decided that I'm gonna let reality overrule my emotions. And that, folks, is the beginning of a successful financial life. And so we start there. For me, to answer your question, Mark, how do you help people who are emotional at Christmas? Look, I'm emotional.
He was crying on the way over here.
Yeah. I mean,
little Bing Crosby came on.
Yeah.
I get it, dude. I'm in.
Dude, you start to play the chestnuts roasting over an open fire, the original one.
Gets me every time.
Man, every
Mean
single
Girls
time.
is on TV and that Christmas scene
Four
where they're
Christmases,
dancing.
Vince
I'm
Vaughn,
balling.
and yeah.
I'm telling you.
No, but for real, emotions are a real thing.
Right.
I mean, they just are. Actually, they're extremely powerful, especially when it comes to money. But finding a way to let reality, to let truth override the emotional roller coaster that whether you are willing to admit it or not. A lot of guys out there, I'm not emotional. I do things based on data. Right? Come on, man. Be honest. Be honest.
Data.
I love the way you said data.
Right?
It's like diabetes.
That's how I make decisions.
Yeah.
That's right.
based on truth, black and white. I'm black and white, like my daddy was.
My pawpaw didn't cry.
That's right.
My daddy didn't cry.
I don't cry.
I ain't going to cry. My baby was born. I said, get to work.
Let's be honest. We all are emotional, especially when it comes to money.
Yeah.
Finding a way to step outside of that and letting whether that's letting some other person enter in and be the voice of reason to give you a third party perspective that's not as emotional, or it's just any way to get a bigger perspective on the situation, I think is absolutely crucial.
I like how you talked about the people who have some kind of plan. They've got some kind of long-term outlook. They can articulate why they're doing what they're doing. And then you talked about the people that don't have a plan. But there's also a third category of people. And this is probably the category that we see, I mean, maybe most often. And that is they have a quote-unquote plan. They've done some work on their financial future.
On the napkin?
Either on the napkin. They may have worked with a financial advisor. But they come in and they know that whatever they have, it's not doing it for them.
Right.
They're like, I got this plan, but either I don't understand it, I can't tell you why I'm supposed to do the things that I'm apparently doing in the plan. I can't tell you why. Or it feels like something's missing. Like this plan doesn't actually reflect me and who I am. Feels like, a cookie cutter plan. It feels like someone else's plan. It doesn't feel like my plan. And I think that that's a tough place to be.
Right.
Because if you've already put yourself out there and you've gone through the process of maybe working with a financial advisor and you got a plan and then they delivered it to you and it's 150 pages and there's a bunch of charts in there. There's a bunch of things like alpha and beta and standard deviation and you got your stock, you got all that data in there.
Data.
And you got no idea what the data means. Look, I feel bad for you because that probably didn't do much to bolster your faith in the financial planning community.
Or your motivation to stick to it, right?
Yeah, or your motivation to stick to it, or to subject yourself to someone else who's going to get you a plan. Because if you've already gone through that process and it takes some time and it takes some effort and what you got back doesn't reflect the person that you are, the direction that you're moving, what you think is feasible. I mean, quick story. I had a client come in, a prospect actually, came in a couple weeks ago, and she brought her plan. And it was from basically like the number one planning tool that certified financial planners use to do retirement plans. It's a 150-page stack of a plan. She goes, here's my plan. And I looked through it, and there was just red all over it. I mean, she had marked up every page. And next to all these giant red marks, she's like, what is this? Why? I don't understand.
Right.
What's this? He wants me to save how much more? I got to do what? Retire when? And I'm like, okay, this isn't a plan. Not for you, at least. I suppose it's...
It sounds like homework.
You know what that is?
What is that?
Data.
Yeah, that's data. You got a lot of data here.
Red pen data.
But you don't have a plan. And so I guess I just want to appeal to those of you out there that sounds like you. Maybe you've engaged a financial planner. Maybe you've done some of this work on your own. But whatever you got back, either something's missing or you don't understand it, or just simply put, you can't explain why you're supposed to do the things that the plan says you need to do. If that sounds like you, I promise you, you are going to love our proven process. And you should start that proven process with a phone call with us, 770-741-0120. You can also schedule a quick 15-minute discovery call at retireatlradio.com. Our whole process is designed with you in mind so that at the end of all this, you can actually articulate why you are doing the things that you're doing, and the plan that's sitting in front of you is reflecting you as a person, what's important to you, and where you're going.
What's funny is that as you were talking, Matt, I think that's exactly right. And it just dawned on me, one of the taglines, one of the ways that we describe some of our portfolio design metrics and how we manage portfolios is this: non-emotional, methodical, mathematical approach to investing. That's what we say. Like that's how we describe the portfolios we design. The first point is non-emotional. We have to find a way to rise above, especially in the information age, when if you Google something, the same thing, like I've done this exercise with my kids. You can Google, pick whatever topic you want to Google. what's the best way to X? Just whatever.
Right.
Cook a steak.
Cook is, yeah. Okay, Google that on Monday. Do the same Google on Tuesday, and it's a whole different set of things fed to you. So imagine doing that in the world of investing, where, I mean, there's so many options out there. Finding a way to step above all of the chaos. If you can't do that, I'm not sure any quote unquote plan can work.
You're just drowning out there.
You're drowning in information.
770-741-0120. You're drowning in data. Help take the emotions and the confusing data out of retirement planning with the help of the team at the Vincent Financial Group. Again, 770-741-0120. They want to offer you that no cost, no obligation consultation. And the team at the Vincent Financial Group, they're here to serve the community. But as Matt has said many times before, they're not miracle workers. But if you've done a really good job, you have a savings account that you're proud of, got a nice 401k, maybe an IRA, you're lucky enough to have a pension, that's where the power begins to start customizing your plan or building upon your gains. 770-741-0120. You said something a couple of seconds ago about maybe you're working with somebody else and they give you all this confusing data or whatnot. This time of the year, do you start getting those second opinion calls? Because I guarantee there's somebody listening this weekend that said this time a year ago, all right, 2024, I'm going to do this and this and this, and this includes getting my retirement portfolio in order. Maybe I'm working with a big box firm. I'm not really happy, but I'm going to make it happen. Well, here we are 12 months later, and that's still on the to-do list. So somebody listening is right now saying, okay, got to make it happen in 2025. Do you start getting a lot of second opinion calls?
Yes, it happens all the time, either for reasons like you just mentioned, like, hey, I said 2024 was going to be the year I got this under control. I didn't do it. I'm going to do it 2025. Yeah. Or also, man, over the course of a year, a lot of things change. Like life happens, births or deaths or marriages or divorces or, I mean, all the stuff, elections, and the plan that you thought you had or your desire to figure out a plan maybe got, the heat got turned up and now you're like, okay, I'm gonna get this serious. So yeah, this time of year, you start talking about the end of a year and I'm another year older and I got New Year's resolutions coming up soon. How do I get ahead of that? Yeah, it's this time of year definitely stirs up some of the motivation to get some of this stuff in order. And I'm glad it does. I'm really glad it does because one of the things I wish people could see as often as we see it, I get to see that most people who are, again, let's just say they're serious about saving and planning for retirement. Just that's the only qualifier. Most people in that category are farther along than they realize. They're actually in a better spot than they realize that they are. Most people, in my experience, feel behind even if they're not. They're just like this.
And they feel bad about it.
And they feel bad about it, a little bit embarrassed about it. And there's this weight on their back. And it's almost like just sort of, it's probably the same reason why a lot of New Year's resolutions are get back in the gym. It's kind of like get your financial fitness in order. It's the same phenomenon. But I just wish people could see the phenomenon that we see on a week-to-week basis. Most people, if you're just generally serious about saving for retirement, you're probably better off than you think you are. That's the experience we see often. And to be able to be the one to show someone that, man, it's exciting. It's fun. I love it. And so, yes, I'm glad this time of year stirs up some of those thoughts, those emotions. I think it's a good motivator. Let's get it going. 770-741-0120. We're waiting for you.
And even if that means just getting on the calendar for January of 2025, go ahead and check one item off your 2025. And I don't even like saying resolutions. Look, let's be honest. I've been making the same resolution for 26 years now. This is the year I lose weight. 2025 is going to be 27 years
This is
now.
the year.
So instead of saying resolutions, let's make a goal. Let's make it a goal to reach out to the team at the Vincent Financial Group. Take advantage of that no cost, no obligation consultation. 770-741-0120. Always about preserving your assets and building retirement income. One way you do that is with the help of annuities. Opportunity for some guaranteed income in retirement. But the big question is, do people really know what annuities are? We hit the streets, and here's what. Let me try that again, Brandon. Sorry. We hit the streets, and here's what some adults had to say.
I know what an annuity is. Yeah, they're an excellent retirement benefit for a guaranteed income.
Well, I know what an annuity is. I think there's many types of annuities. Some are good, some are bad. It just depends on what restrictions there are with the annuity and the fees associated with the annuity. The fees are the big thing.
Okay,
Wow.
so
Let's go.
Pretty insightful.
Hey,
I
is
like
she
that.
looking for a job?
retireatlradio.com.
Call us.
Shoot us
She's
an
got a great
email.
voice. I love that.
So do you find that? Do people really know what annuities are? And I guess part two, do they understand the fees behind them?
I would say that most people know what an annuity is.
Mm-hmm.
They have a general understanding of the word annuity. And I think, I'm surprised that both of those answers kind of hit the nail on the head.
there are
I'm
there are
kinda
good ones
shocked
and
here.
bad ones.
Yeah.
You know,
Got to watch out for the fees.
what are the restrictions?
Yeah.
What
What just happened?
That
was man on the streets.
Those are the
Like,
questions.
I was
Stuff.
not prepared for an educated man on the streets.
You were like, an annuity, man. Don't I get that at Terrapin? Doesn't that come with some barbecue sauce and a side of baked beans?
I think
Annuity
that
burger?
a lot of annuities that were sold back in the day, so your parents maybe had an annuity, and man, they've come a long way. It used to be you put dollars into a contract, you were basically exchanging a pile of money for a guaranteed income stream, and when you died, it was gone. So when people say, what are the restrictions? Those are the types of things that I'm thinking. Yeah. Those are some older annuities where
the insurance company always wins because you're never going to live as long as they say you're going to.
Exactly.
And when you die, they get all the money.
Exactly. And then the big thing for me is there's just different types of annuities that have totally different goals and focuses. And so it's hard to make like a blanket statement about do people understand them. I would say generally speaking, I haven't met someone that understands all the different types of annuities that are out there and why you may choose to use one over the other. Would you say that that's
I would totally agree. I think in my experience, there's way more misinformation than there is accurate information. At least it's kind of repeated or shared with us, for sure.
One of the big things that we've actually been using annuities for in some of our portfolios for, some clients who are looking for safe dollars, safe money. The traditional go-to for safe money for years and years and years has been, well, how much are you going to allocate into bonds?
Bonds, yeah.
Right? We're going to use bonds as the safe money in your portfolio. And that's great when interest rates are falling. And it's really great, actually, because you have safe money that's got like firepower behind it when interest rates are falling and you're invested in bonds. But the second that those interest rates stop falling, they stay where they are or they tick up, all of a sudden your safe money, I'm doing air quotes, your safe money, your bond allocated funds are not so safe. In fact, Aaron, you had a client come in a couple years ago kind of upset about like the bond allocation. And we'd been talking for years about, hey, you might want to consider an annuity with no fees as a bond alternative because of the interest rate risk. And he was like, no.
Annuities are bad.
Annuities are bad. My dad had one of those. I got the data on annuities, and I'm not doing that.
Data.
And we're like, all right, that's fine. But then, comes into the office. When was that?
2023? It was 2023 because 2022, I would love to hear from somebody who retired in 2022.
Right.
And they had a bunch of bonds in their portfolio. The plain vanilla 60-40 portfolio, 60% is going to be in equities, 40 is going to be in bonds. Well, to Matt's point, you got the bonds to offset the equities and vice versa. Well, in 2022, both lost significantly. There are some bond funds that we saw in some of our analysis that were down 12, 15%.
That's your safe money.
That's your safe money. It's not an equity drop in the markets. That's a bond loss.
All due to interest rates.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I say who retired then is because there are some out there who are going to say, well, it doesn't really matter. If you hold the bond the whole time, the value of the bond doesn't matter. It's paying you an interest rate. Well, that's true in theory. That's why I ask if anybody retired in 2022. I'm interested how your experience was.
They were holding that sentiment tight when they went to sleep at night.
Yes.
Safety blanket.
So we got to clean up a lot of those plans, a lot of those messes in 2023, and that's the client you're talking about that came in, Matt. Yep.
Yeah, so that's one way to use an annuity, right? You're just going to use it as a bond alternative. You can get a no fee, 0% is the worst you can do with no fees, and then you're going to have some kind of capped upside. And that's a great bond alternative that's actually interest rate sensitive in the positive way. Instead of inversely correlated, it's positively correlated with interest rates. And then you've got the do-it-yourself pension, which is the old school annuity model. You trade your dollars for a guaranteed income that you can't outlive. And that's actually a great way. Man, if you wish you had a pension, well, guess what? You can actually go purchase your own pension. It's called a guaranteed income annuity. And in a lot of cases, that guaranteed income annuity out in the private sector is actually going to pay you more than the pension would have if your employer was still offering one.
Yeah, we did some analysis for someone recently who they had the option to take the lump sum for their pension. And so the pension kind of actuaries will do the math for you. And, if you keep your pension here for your retirement, we will pay you X amount per month guaranteed for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Or you can choose to take this whole lump sum of money, forego that benefit, take your lump sum of money and take it somewhere else. Well, we've done the analysis, and it's not uncommon for some of the annuity products that Matt's talking about to actually pay out more than that pension was going to guarantee, and it's guaranteed. So to say that annuities are bad or to say that there's not a place for them. Now, just to be clear, we have a lot of clients who don't have any money in annuities, $0. If they don't like them, or if they have an aversion to them, hey, we respect that 100%. It's our job to show you your options and show you what's available to you and come to you with some creative ideas. Ultimately, if you say, I don't like that idea, great. That's your money. We'll find a plan B, something else for you. So we do use annuities quite a bit because of all the benefits that Matt's talking about, but not all of our clients have annuities. We respect that. And so if that's you, if you're interested or you're curious or you want to know more, maybe some black and white facts on annuities, call us, 770-741-0120. We would love to dispel some myths or help you get educated on these.
Helping you create a pension when a pension's not available.
Exactly.
A lot of people say, like, my grandfather had one, my dad had one. I come from a line of teachers. They all have one. I want one. Well, the team at Vincent Financial Group can help you create that pension. 770-741-0120. I've got good news and I've got bad news.
We were all wrong.
Way wrong. And that's the good news.
Let's go back.
As we started, because we said at the beginning of the segment, we're
That's
looking
the good
at
news?
Yeah, usdebtclock.org. That we were way off. Okay.
And that's good.
So we started this segment about 20 minutes ago, just over 20 minutes ago. And I'm just looking at the millions, 720 million, ...
That's where we started.
Yeah.
On national debt.
Aaron guessed that by the time we wrapped it up, it would
900.
be 900. Matt said 875. I said 850. And our producer, Brandon, said 950.
Did we get to carry the one scenario?
No, you don't. Here's the problem. Here's the good thing, which is also a bad thing. Started at 720. As we wrap this up, 761.
Okay.
So only 41 million.
We spend less when we're on the air.
Exactly. The debt slows down.
Everything slows down.
As we're
Everything
talking
slows
about
down.
budgets.
Yeah.
So we only spent $40 million on
That's
the back
great.
half of Retire ATL Radio. Nice
It's
job,
like
America.
half of an F-18.
See, a tenth of Aaron's hair product budget. 770-741. I would love to. I'm jealous. I've had a bottle of
It's
LA
coming
Looks
from a hurt place.
in the back.
That's coming from a hurt place from Mark Owens.
Salon Selective, some mousse in the back of my closet.
You got a condition.
for
You got a
just-
condition. That's a secret.
My chest hair is solid. 770-741. That's the data. 0120. Again, 770-741-0120. RetireATLRadio.com. Aaron, Matt, thank you for the education and the information this weekend. And we invite you to check out the Retire ATL podcast. This weekend show plus a full archive is available. It's all commercial free. We're back next weekend. But for Aaron Vincent and Matthew Deckard, this has been Retire ATL right here on WSB.